The tagline for today's video: it's not a problem until it's a problem. The issue of the moment: the seller agreed to provide a copy of the existing survey and the T-47 affidavit to the buyer. The survey and the T-47 affidavit were provided, but the T-47 was signed only by the wife and did not include the husband's signature. Both husband and wife were listed as seller under the contract. Upon review of the survey, the title company did not approve the survey for whatever reason. A new survey was ordered. Originally, the cost of the new survey was allocated to the buyer because the contract stated that if the existing survey or affidavit is not acceptable, buyer shall obtain a new survey at buyer's expense. However, the buyer challenged the cost, arguing that the T-47 was incomplete without the husband's signature, and therefore the affidavit was not provided as specified in the contract. Failure to provide the T-47 meant the seller had to pay for the new survey because the contract stated if seller fails to furnish the existing survey or affidavit within the time prescribed, buyer shall obtain a new survey at seller's expense no later than 3 days prior to closing. This became a very contentious issue between the parties. It had nothing to do with the acceptability of the survey for title insurance purposes. The survey would not have been approved irrespective of whether the affidavit was complete or not. And arguably, if the survey was acceptable, the fact that the affidavit was incomplete would never have been an issue. This became a dispute as to the contractual obligations of the parties to the contract. The contract does require the seller to provide the T-47 affidavit, and seller is a defined term under the contract. Whomever is listed in paragraph 1 of the contract as the seller is the defined seller and needs to sign the affidavit. If not all sellers listed in paragraph 1 of the contract sign the affidavit, then the seller, as it is a defined term, has not provided the affidavit. A technical distinction, but a distinction it is. The buyer had a good argument for the seller to pay for the new survey. This is not an issue of whether the title company will accept an incomplete affidavit. This is a contract issue. The parties need to make sure they perform as agreed to under the contract. And this is an example of it's not a problem until it's a problem. Be meticulous in all your dealings. Wishing you all the best this holiday season. Thank you.